Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to take the opportunity to reach out to my followers and my friends and family just to say hi. Wanted to let you know that I am still and always forever praying with you, for you, and over you. Today is Sunday, June 23rd, and it's been an interesting day. Just reflecting on God's goodness and His mercy. And today I thought I'd slow down and share just a little bit more of my story. I started last year and just came out on social media just telling you all about my journey, my story of being HIV positive. And of course, most people hear HIV, you have different reactions and different thoughts about it. Now, I will say when I first found out that I was positive, I thought life was over. I thought that was it. And yes, I said, why me? Um, at the time, the guy that I was dating gave it to me on purpose. And the reason why I drew this conclusion is because after the ordeal or the circumstances that happened so that I would end up with this, I'll go more into that in just a bit. Um, so this is not a video for children. Let me say that again. Not a video for children. Um, okay, so from the beginning, 24 years ago, I was diagnosed with HIV. I had been dating a gentleman. Ooh, I'm sorry. Had been dating a gentleman that I had planned to marry, and his name was Daryl. I don't want to say his name yet, Daryl. And this gentleman, this guy, we had been together about 2 years. And like I said, we had planned on getting married. We had broken up because I found out he was cheating. He become distant after I had moved into my new place, and just things just weren't right. Then I actually talked to an old friend who said that he had been seeing him with this other woman. And when I asked him about it, he finally just did, first he denied it, but I'm like, well, the guy that the person, or I told him, the person that saw you with this girl, says, I mean, he called the car that she was driving and the whole nine, and he had actually taken me to work in this young lady's car. So anyway, fast forward, we broke up. It was over. Um, about it, almost a year later, I ran into his ex girlfriend, and when she approached me, I was literally standing in Golden Corral having lunch with my mom, my dad, and my daughter. We had just gotten there. I was about to eat, of course, up at the buffet. And when I looked at her, I was taken aback because she was probably 200 pounds lighter than what I'd seen before when I first met her. And when I'd asked him where was she at because they had a child together, he told me that she was in a mental hospital and she had lost her mind or something like that. So, while talking to this lady about him, she said that she was trying to warn me about um, him. So I'm like, what do you mean warn me about him? So she says, well, I've been trying to get a message to you. And I'm like, well, what's the message? Um, and when she said trying to get a message, we did go into like, I'm like, what do you mean and how or whatever. Well, she had her cousin following me, or she told her cousin to relay the message about Daryl. However, the cousin had been parked outside my house a few times, and I think each time he tried to reach out to me, either someone pulled up or something happened, and he never spoke to me, never told me anything. So, um, needless to say, I didn't get the message. But anyway, so I'm standing in Golden Corral talking to his ex girlfriend, and she tells me that he's positive. He knew he was positive when he met me, and that he'd gone around Wick County just infecting women just because he's mad with the world. Now I'm thinking like, oh, she's tripping. This woman, this is like the low blow. This like, how could you make up a story about somebody like this? I mean, this is what I'm thinking. So nonetheless, I was really taken aback. I finished listening to her talk, went back to my seat, And I don't even remember if I had food on my plate. I know my mom looked at me like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, nothing." And I guess I tried to play it off to like, I'm not feeling well, or, felt like I was coming down with something. I don't know. But later on, I did talk to my mom in private. She came over to the house, and I did discuss with her what this lady had said. And she said, we're going to pray about it, and, just believe that, believe God that you're going to be okay if it is true. But we're praying that it's not. So that's the way that went. Then months later, almost probably a year after this run in with this young lady, I had gotten sick. I am asthmatic, have been asthmatic all my life, chronic asthma. And I had gotten sick after my daughter's birthday. And I had climbed the stairs in my townhouse and realized that I was struggling to breathe. I mean, really struggling to breathe. And I called my mom and told my mom about, the problem that I was having with the breathing. She said, you need to go to the ER. And I ended up I ended up telling her that I was going to go to urgent care. So I think she came over and watched my daughter, and I went to urgent care. So while I was at urgent care, they gave me steroids and said, hey, take this for a week, you'll be fine. Lo and behold, a week later, I'm not fine. I go back to my doctor. My doctor checked my oxygen levels, which were extremely low, like below 80, and he had me transported to the hospital. Well, I stayed in the hospital for 7 days, and I was to follow up with my, health, my primary care. So after the 7 days, I go back to my doctor 3 days later after being discharged. I'm still not well. He sends me back to the hospital. Then that time, I'm in the hospital for 30 days. Now, what I need you to know is this. While in the hospital for the 30 days, um, I would say probably after the 20-day mark was when I was put in ICU. And I was in ICU for probably 2 to 3 days, I guess, not very long. Because after they said I was dying, that's when I called my mom. Now, this is where I need you non believers to understand where the miracle took place. Because at this point, while I'm in the hospital, they don't know that I'm positive. All we know is that I have bilateral pneumonia, and they've given me all the oxygen they could give me, and they needed to incubate. In, in, incubate? Am I saying that right? But you know what I mean. So I got a phone. I called my mom. She called her prayer warriors, and my uncle Hezekiah came out to pray for me. And um, he literally laid hands, prayed, and I was out of ICU in 24 hours. I went from needing to be put under, the tube down the throat to just like 10 liters of oxygen. So I told the doctor that I needed physical therapy. I'm ready to go home. And of course, I was in no shape, way, or form to go home. I just, wasn't. But I was speaking those things as though they were, because I had a daughter at home. She had just started kindergarten, and I needed to be at home. I needed to raise my child. So I had physical therapy, what they call physical therapy. I literally just practiced getting myself up and out of bed, standing up, going to the bathroom on my own, walking up and down the hallway. And I did practice climbing stairs because I had stairs in my townhouse. So um, I'm telling this story because I believe somebody needs to know the entire story. And while I was in the hospital, my dad was sitting next to me one day when the doctor came in, and they were still trying to figure out what was wrong. And he said, we tested you for everything under the sun. The only thing we haven't run tests on is AIDS and HIV. So at that point, I'm like, do what you got to do. I'm tested all the time, doing once a year, doing my physical, and I know I'm fine. My dad never once came back to ask me what those test results were. I never asked me. But I did get those results, and it was like the life or the air was sucked out of me when I did get those results. But what I need you to know is before I got sick, I was trying to find a new job. And I was believing God for all that it's worth. I was going to get that new job. So now, after ICU, I'm in my room, and guys, I was getting phone calls in the hospital, job offers in the hospital. I'm like, God is just amazing. So, nevertheless, day 30, I did go home. And I went home still needing the oxygen around the clock. So they had fixed it so I had a machine at home, and I just wore the oxygen at home. And then I also had the tanks at the time. This is how long ago it was. I had the oxygen tanks that was on little wheels that I could roll around if I needed to leave. So I thank God for that. But the reason I'm telling this story, to God be the glory, I was diagnosed in May of 99. And I got out of the hospital. I was out of the hospital for a month and before I went back to work. And during that month, God placed people in your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. I have some dear, dear friends that have been by my side through thick and thin. And Tammy Colvin, she was Tammy Langley then, but she and I became friends when my daughter was 2 years old, and we are still sisters to this day. And she and her husband were always checking on Kia. They made her Easter basket that year, I'll never forget, and mailed it to us from Texas. And they always checked on me. My best friend Kia, um, LaShondra, Moniece. I had people in my corner, just a small group of friends. Um, but nonetheless, what I'm trying to say is, even though the devil meant it for bad, God still means everything for my good. And I was hospitalized for 30 days, out of work for 60 days. The day I go back to work, someone steals my purse out of my car. And I never forget thinking, oh my God, like, what could possibly happen to me next? I mean, God, have I not dealt with enough? Well, later on that day, because I called my mom and told her about what happened, and later on that day, um, I found my purse behind the little gas station over by Pullen Park. They wanted some money. They ain't getting. They ain't getting that because I ain't had no money, y'all. I had been out of work for 2 months now. So I found my wallet and my purse down a ravine and was able to collect everything that was stolen. And what I'm getting at is, I need you to hear me. I need you to really hear me, because what I'm getting at is, I went back to work 2 weeks, just 2 weeks after going back to work. I had two different job interviews. And the second job interview that I had, I knew it was mine. I knew this job was mine. So I remember calling the headhunter and telling them, I really want this job. I want this job. So they said, well, it's funny that you're calling now because they've already said that they wanted you. We were waiting to hear back from you and needed to, give the people the okay. So what I'm trying to what I'm trying to get you to really see is, while I was going through this storm, this valley experience, what I thought was a valley experience, not only was God already doing a thing on the inside, because He's a physician, He's the great I am. God is who you need when you need it. So I need you to hear me. I need you to grasp what I'm saying. So I got out of hospital and went back to work. 2 weeks after going back to work, I had an interview and took the job at BTI Telecommunications in Raleigh. It was on Six Forks Road back in the day, but I got I got the new job, and not only did I accept the job, but I got in a new car. And when I went to the dealership to get the car that I was looking for, one of my coworkers drove the same car. It was a Chevy Cavalier. And I remember telling the guy, I said, I want this car. I want a Chevy Cavalier. I want a rubber bumper. It's got to be teal, two-door, and automatic. I mean, I had it all down. I mean, I had been praying about this. I told God what it was, and I knew I was going to get it. So I never forget, me and LaShondra, we were getting cars around the same time. And she said, hey, there's this coupon in the Southside Shopper, and it's literally worth $1,000 at this particular dealership. So you should try it. So that's what I did. I'd gone to the dealership that she told me about. So I got the car of my dream, my little dream car. It wasn't there on the lot that day, but the guy told me to come back because I was like close to closing, and he'd given me the keys of a little Nissan Coupe to drive home. So I drove it home, and I'm still excited about what God is doing in my life. So I drove this car to work that next day. Went back to the dealership with my mother, and I told my mom. I said, "I'm getting that car." So my mom's like, "I don't see it." I said, "But I know God's He's making a way." So while we're sitting there talking, a sales guy pulls up next to us in the car that I'd already prayed about, and I told my mom, "That's the car." My mom's like, "That can't be the car. There's somebody driving that car." I was like, "That's the car." Guys, I drove off the lot with that car. Not only did I drive off the lot with that car, the car that I'd already prayed about, God and I had already talked about how much I could afford. So I got the car. I got the car. So I'm like, oh God, I just thank you. I'm rejoicing. Y'all, I've got a crazy praise in my heart. I'm really, really rejoicing. So that was around August of 99. Meanwhile, I am still trying to buy my first home, the home I'm in now. And I said, God, I need 4 bedrooms. I need a wheelchair accessible ramp so that my grandmother can get in, and my dad, if he ever is in a wheelchair. And I need an office. So everything I prayed for, this house had. And it was the first and only house I ever looked at. So what I'm trying to get at, what I'm trying to convey for this video is, in the midst of that storm that you are dealing with right now, God is doing something. He's working it out. He's doing something for you that you don't even see. While I was going through the pain and the struggle of this new diagnosis, God was working it out. He'd given me a job, and at that time I went. I mean, it was literally like a $12,000 increase in income. Not only that, but I had job security, and I had a good insurance. I had good insurance, and it's something that I needed. So, in just a short amount of time, while dealing with it all, I had to. Later on, I reflected back on just looking at it, and I remember having a conversation with my parents one night, thinking on the goodness of Jesus, like, wow. I went from staring death in the face to getting job offers while I'm in the hospital, starting a new job, getting a new car, and buying my first house in a year's time. So what I'm saying to you is, no matter what the struggle is, or whatever the opposition is in your life, know that God is able. What God said He was going to do, He's going to do for you. No matter what the problem, no matter what you come up against. And not only that, He's going to put people in your life that will stick by you and stick closer to you than a brother or a sister. Because while I was going through all of this in my life, and one of my dear friends, Keela, found a support group for me in Raleigh that I went to for a while because I really needed to talk to someone that understood. And I went, and it was nice, but it still wasn't what I was looking for. So I had been praying for God to send me someone to talk to, and He did through my sister in law. when I tell you, I've just got so much I could tell, and I'm not gonna go into it all. But I just felt the need to share that much with you on today because somebody's going through something and they feel like they're all alone. They feel like God has forgotten. And they're probably thinking, oh God, why me? But what I say to you is, why not you? It's okay to be angry, but the word says, sin not. And if you need an answer, go to God. He will give you that answer. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to my story and or at least part of my story. Thank you for all of you that didn't know that when you found out you still love me anyway. So I love you for that too. And to my baby girl who has been there through thick and thin. She's become my greatest cheerleader next to my husband. And for you, those of you that don't know, yes, I am married. And just because you're positive doesn't mean you won't find love. So that's something else you need to know. So until I talk to you again, grace, peace, and love. Till next time, bye bye. See you guys later.